Hey, my name is Ben Fraser. I'm the founder of Ready.Set.Van, and I am super excited about making this video today. I'm going to do a very detailed walkthrough of this Basecamper behind me, show you the van, also tell you a little bit about some of the process behind how we make certain parts of it. A whole bunch of stuff in here I want to show you, pretty excited about, so let's get into it. So on the outside of this van, we've got a nice set of upgrades here. First up are the KO2 tires on the Method rims. We also use Ultra rims sometimes, or even sometimes you can get a black steel wheel from the factory. Any black wheel looks great. I kind of think they all look great. So of course we've got a set of running boards here for just getting in and out of the van easier. And then up top we've got an Orion roof rack along with the Fiamma awning. So the Fiamma awning is great. You know, it comes out about 10 feet. That's really nice just for kind of expanding your living space into the outside world, which is always lovely. It's also really nice just to open it up like a foot or two in a day where it's like kind of raining or misting a little bit. And what that'll do is that'll push the drip line of your van out by like a foot or two. Because otherwise, if you have your slider open, water will just kind of collect and then drip just inside your van. And so it's always nice to be able to push that out. It's those kind of warm, misty, slightly wet days that you kind of want the most airflow typically. And so being able to have your slider open in those conditions is nice, but it's also nice not to get water inside. So before we head inside, I want to talk a little bit about some of the materials we use, in particular the plywood that we use. So we have this very special plywood that we managed to source from Indonesia. It's a lightweight ply. So on the outside, it has a really nice high-end kind of architectural grade veneer. That looks really great. But then the inner cores of the ply are actually made of a less dense material, a less dense wood that grows naturally in Asia. So as a result, a sheet of the plywood that we use weighs about 40 pounds. A sheet of standard weight ply weighs about 70 pounds. So it's a big difference. It adds up to about 400 pounds over the course of a build, weight saved, which is huge. It's funny, like around here, like if we ever have a piece of standard plywood kicking around the shop for some reason, pick it up, even just like a small scrap, anybody here, they'll pick it up and be like, oh, this is the wrong stuff. It's that noticeable, the difference between the two. We just get used to it. What's nice also is that you know, we have our own CNC machine here in our own cabinet shops. We do all of our cabinet construction here in-house. We don't send anything out. And you know, if we did send our cabinets out to get made, we wouldn't even be able to use that plywood. They just wouldn't let us. So. Having all of that here is just awesome. It just means that we have like total control of the whole process. It means we can iterate on our designs very quickly. We can try new things out. It's pretty fantastic. Since the very beginning, our design ethos has been to create beautiful interiors that look just as good as your home, or hopefully maybe even a little bit better. And a main part of that ethos was to create a bright interior with clear sight lines. And we realized pretty quickly that we wanted to eliminate all seams from the van, because you don't really have seams in your home, and we don't really want to have seams here either. So, and what I mean by that is you look throughout our build, and anywhere where two materials come together, there's no evidence of it. Just like in your home, when you have two sheets of drywall that come together, that gets taken care of. It disappears when they come and spackle it and everything. So, I really wanted to have a clean, painted interior. I didn't want to have lots of vinyls or laminates or things like that, just like clean, natural finishes. And it takes a lot of work to do that. So I'm gonna make another video at some point where I kind of go in detail on how we actually produce this interior. It's incredibly labor intensive, but basically, in a nutshell, anytime we have two pieces of material that are coming together, aside from being glued and screwed together, we also use an epoxy-based filler, and that hides all of our screws, that hides all of the seams, basically. So, the ceiling, the walls, all of it kind of makes all that disappear. Takes a lot of time. So like this corner right here, there's a join here, obviously, but you can't see it. It's just kind of invisible. Especially in a small space, seams and other kinds of things that you don't necessarily need can quickly create clutter. But it is very labor intensive. So that's why a lot of people, most people, I don't think anybody does the ceiling the way we do it, for good reason too, because it takes a long time. But that's why a lot of people will do, like if you see like a shiplap or like a tongue and groove kind of ceiling. They do that because it's quick and easy. For us, like that's not like a look that I would have in my home. Like maybe if I had like a cabin somewhere, but that's not really the kind of the aesthetic that certainly here at Ready.Set.Van that we're going for. So we've had a number of people who have tried to sort of mimic our clean white interior. And typically we've discovered that the way they do it is by using laminates. And so personally, I would be a little bit wary of that. The way it works is, like if for this cabinet right here, they'll make the cabinet first, and then at the end, they'll stick on a piece of plastic laminate on here, and then stick on a piece of plastic laminate on here, and kind of trim them up and make it really clean edge to it. Whenever you do that, you end up with an exposed seam on the outside corner here. You'll usually see like a little black line on every single corner or every single join that exists. And so like aesthetically, I really don't like that at all. Partly because I kind of just know, like, it's like, I just kind of, I want to just go in there and kind of like flick it a little bit, because those seams are really prone to chipping, starting to peel away and things like that. So it's the kind of thing where it probably looks, decent right out of the gate, but I really question the durability and how well it's going to survive over time. That's just something to be aware of. Not all laminates are bad. Personally, I just think in a very environmentally stressful application like a van that's getting incredibly hot and humid and then cold and frozen and all that kind of stuff, and be shaking all the time and having people running in and out all the time, it just seems like maybe not as durable as really is needed. So this floor that our client chose is a really nice floor. It's actually the same floor I have in my van. It's an engineered hardwood. It's an acacia product. It's really beautiful. It just has a wonderful luster to it. Like I said, I have it in my van. It's survived incredibly well, and I'm not very kind to it, but it's really done well. The nice thing about the hardwood floor is that if you do get a scratch in it, you can refinish it, which is really easily, which is nice, which is not really an option with one of the vinyl floors. But there are pros and cons, to both. One of the other nice things about this hardwood floor is because the floor is thicker, it gives us room where we can actually route a channel into the edge here, so that when we put this metal step piece on here, we can actually drop this down so this becomes flush here. It's a very small detail, but it's a really nice one, especially if you're at a beach or some place or kind of anywhere where you find yourself needing to sweep out the van all the time. It's like the number one habit I do all the time. It's just like every day, sweep out the van, probably many times a day. And what's nice about being to get that flush there is that when you sweep out your van, everything goes out your van. Otherwise, normally this would be sitting on top of the vinyl, which again isn't the end of the world. But then you end up with like almost an 1/8 inch lip there, and you're going to get sand and things like that kind of build up behind there. So we can only recess this when we are doing a hardwood floor, but this just ends up being kind of one of the perks of that. Let's head inside. So the first thing I want to talk about here is just what a big open space this is. It's a real open plan, obviously, but there's just a lot of room here to move around, not feel encumbered or encroached in any way. Two people can easily hang out in here, all day and kind of get around each other, no problem. So there's just lots of room just to move around and be free. One of the other things that I love about this van from a design perspective are the sight lines. So we have two main sight lines. This one down here, that's totally clean and clear. It goes all the way back to the van. You can imagine instead of a concrete wall back there was a beach or some beautiful backdrop. It's just so nice to have nice clean lines that kind of extend the van, not creating clutter. Sometimes people put overheads here, which kind of make everything seem smaller, and they break up those sight lines, aside from also like hit your head on them and stuff. But having this nice big clean sight line I just absolutely love. And then same thing on this side, just one continuous line all the way the length of the van. It just clears the mind, keeps it nice and simple. Like you can see if I get out of the way, that combined with the whole seamless interior, it's a very clean and I think a very peaceful layout. There's not really very much clutter. There's not a lot of seams. I have a thing about seams apparently, but I love it. And the times that I have been able to park up someplace where it is a beautiful spot here, I was backed up to the beach at the Outer Banks, and it was just amazing. This seat is also my favorite seat in the van because I can sit here, I can look out the window. If that's open, I can look out there as well. I just really like it. I think it's just a really nice vantage point. We have this big table here, which is really great. It's really sturdy. There are magnets inside that lock it when it comes out, so it's not really going anywhere. All of our hardware is completely concealed underneath. A lot of people, when they'll do an extending table like this, sometimes they don't use door slides at all, which seems flimsy, but also a lot of times the door slides are just on the outside here, which I think is ugly, but also door slides need grease on them, and your pants don't need grease on them. And so, the idea of a greasy door slide on the outside, I don't really love, but I love this table. It's nice and big too. It's 26 by 26 inches, which is a nice size. You can get two good sized dinner plates across from each other. And that was really the requirement for this table was it needs to be, you know, unsurprisingly, it needs to be a functional dinner place for 2 people, and it works out great for that. I tend to use mine mostly when I'm working. I use my van a lot as an office. My van is the same layout, by the way. And I just have my laptop here. I'll usually have a drink here or some other things, or a notepad. And it's great. I wish I could work from my van every day, but I can't. And to close this table, all you do is you just push it in and it locks in. It's just on little push lock slides. And right below here is what we call our center cab. These are 3 huge drawers. They're 26 inches deep. It's a massive amount of storage. They're fantastic. I absolutely love them in my van. They're always just like filled to the top with stuff. So they're really great. We can also do it without this cabinet here and just have pass-through access into the garage. And that works really well, especially for people who have dogs. Some people just want the pass-through just so they can get to their stuff in the garage. But a lot of people who have dogs, their dog will sleep down there, and that works out really nice. The dog has somewhere to go, so he's not kind of in people's way. And on my left, we have the kitchen galley unit, which is a nice 48 inches long. We have this Rivati sink, which I absolutely love. We put this in just about every single van we build. I think it's kind of the perfect van life sink, in my opinion. It's nice and deep. We have an induction cooktop. Of course, we can do a single, we can do a double. We can do no cooktop, and just having a portable one is a popular choice as well. Of course, we router this right into the countertop on our CNC, so it's just nice. Over here we have an Arctic Turn window. I love this window. Actually, I love all of their windows. I think they're really, really great. This awning's out. It's got a couple stops, so you can kind of set where you want it. It's awesome. You can have it open in the rain. No, nothing will come in. It's pretty super. The screen is integrated in, and then so is the blackout shade. So super product, really like it. Of course, we have our dimmer here for our lights for the kitchen, and then a 110 outlet. Right over here we got our fridge. It's CRX80 fridge. I love this fridge. It's been great. It just works well. Honestly, I think in all the vans we've had, I think we've only ever had one of these fridges have a warranty issue, so it's pretty nice. Right below the fridge is a little secret kick drawer that just pops out. It's a great place to store, you know, passports, money, whatever you don't want people to find. It's kind of hidden out of the way, so people, you know, seems like a kind of a safe place for things. We can also put an actual safe in a van. That's a piece of cake, but that's just a nice place to, you know, want to tuck something real quick. Works out. We got a whole nice big set of drawers here, nice and deep. I love these drawers in my van. They're just constantly filled with all kinds of food, supplies. And under here we have some open storage, and then also our gray tank. Our gray tank's a 10-gallon gray tank, and we always put our gray tank inside the van so that it is a true 4-season capable van. If it's outside the van, even if it has a heater pad on it, it's still gonna have freezing issues if you are at like a ski resort skiing for the weekend. What's gonna happen is the pipe leading to your tank is gonna freeze up, and the walls of that pipe are gonna start to accumulate ice, and then eventually that ice is gonna be frozen through, and then your sink's gonna back up, and there's gonna be nothing you can really do about it except crawl under your van with a hairdryer, which doesn't really sound like that much fun. So we always put them in the van for all of our layouts. That way, you know, you can use your van any season and not really have to worry about anything, and it's a nice peace of mind. That gray tank, by the way, is emptied by flipping a switch right behind the driver's seat. So it's just gray water. If you're on a back road or someplace where you think it's fine to do so, you can just flip that switch behind your driver's seat, and that'll just dump out on the side of the road or in your backyard or wherever you are. You can also hook that up and dump it into an actual dump station if you want, but personally, I don't really find the need. All right, let me show you this side. So the passenger bench is pretty awesome. Of course, it does the pretty straightforward sit here and do things at the table. Works great for that. Of course, the real magic happens when you flip this thing around like that, and you put your feet up on here. And that is delightful sitting here if you have your slider door open. Big fan of that whole setup. Right next to me, I've got our lights for our dimmers. Of course, all our lights are on dimmers. And then right here, I've got the Webasto heater control. The hot air from the Webasto heat comes out over here, and the intakes in the garage. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. We put the Webasto right here, so it's right next to your head when you're sleeping. It's really nice because you can just reach over, twist this little thing, hit set, and go back to sleep. Some other people put it up there. Some people put it over there. Really having it with like within arm's reach is just so nice. If you wake up in the middle of the night, it's a little too hot or it's a little too cold, or maybe you didn't turn it on, or maybe you want to turn it off. You know, the difference between being able to reach over and just like tap it and go back to sleep, and having to get your phone out and open up the app and then scroll through it and make your changes and then close your phone and then go back to sleep. For me, if that happens at like 4 o'clock in the morning and I have to do all that with my phone, that's it. I'm awake. I'm not going back to sleep afterwards. But being able to just reach over, I don't even have to open my eyes. I can change the temperature and go back to sleep. Under my feet here in the front section of the bench is just big open storage. And I will tell you, this storage is awesome because very often, if I'm going on a trip, I'm going to load up on groceries, or at some point I'll stop and I'm going to load up on groceries. And, you roll the cart up next to the van and you just want to load everything in it. Like almost every single time, I'm just like in a hurry. I just want to get going. I just want to get that cart unloaded. I don't really want to put everything away. I'm just like, I'll do that when I'm in a nicer place. And usually what I'll do is I'll flip this open and I'll just dump all my groceries in here. And I don't know, it's just what I do, because then you don't have to be getting in and out of the van for every single thing that you're loading into the van. I don't know. I love it. It's just a big open storage, which is really, really good. And then underneath me here is the toilet and pop-up shower. So let me show you that. So to get to the toilet, we're just going to pop these off of here. Lift up the lid. The lid stays open with a magnet. We have a magnet that's embedded in the wall behind and also in the lid that holds it up, which is real nice. So if you're sitting on the toilet, you can have your back against the wall. It's super comfortable. It just kind of folds up out of the way, which is nice. She decided to go with the Trelino toilet in here. We can put just about any toilet in here. In this particular case, Trelino is, I think, a really good choice because it's a very light toilet. And so it makes it really easy to just pop the toilet out when you're ready to use the shower. And now, basically what we have here is like a miniature version of our Highline shower. So it's a stainless steel shower pan that's surrounded in white acrylic. It looks really nice. It's going to last, forever. We also have a dedicated shower mixer over here, which is really nice. That's hooked right up to the hot and cold, and then a shower head here. And then in this bag, we have the shower curtains, which is going to connect up to some hidden magnets in the ceiling. That's going to go up in seconds. Works super well. And then when she's done, she can fold it up, put it all away. Which is really great. She's not planning on using this very often, but really just on occasion when she's in a town or in a public place where she needs some privacy and she doesn't want to be showering out the back. Otherwise, she's planning on doing a lot of traveling where she's expecting mostly to just be showering off the back. So one thing that I would say about the different designs of pop-up showers that people have done is I'm really wary of the really low profile shower pans that people put like in the middle of their floor sometimes that are really, really shallow and don't have a proper sidewall to the shower pan. And the reason I worry about that is because it just seems like you're going to end up with a lot of water splashing over the sides. And almost all of those designs rely on the shower curtain having magnets at the bottom and sticking to the shower pan to kind of make a seal, which seems like a perfectly good idea, except magnets only stick to kind of regular steel, ferrous iron, which is going to rust. So especially if you have one of those shower pans that's in the middle of your floor, you're walking out on it all the time, even if it's been powder coated, that powder coat is going to wear off pretty quickly because your feet are going to be rubbing against it. It just will wear off. And then eventually it's going to rust, especially if you had went to the beach and you dropped a pair of like bathing shorts on there because you're like, oh, this is the shower pan. But like covered in the salt water, it's going to cause it to rust almost like within hours. I'm amazed how quickly things rust at the shore. So anyway, that's just something, there's a lot of different ways to do the pop-up shower. For us, I'd much rather do it like this. Works totally great, and it's much more robust, and you're never gonna have to worry about water getting anywhere it shouldn't go. You're not gonna have something in the middle of the floor that you're kind of like stepping on and underfoot all the time as well. So I'm gonna put all this back and let's check out the bed area. Okay, and here we are in the bed area. So what we got is a full-size bed. I believe it's 73 inches long by I think 52 inches wide. It's an 8-inch thick foam mattress. It's super comfortable. It's interesting, it's like almost a universal thing. It's kind of wild that when we hear from people after they've been out on their first trip in the van, the first thing they say, or one of the first things they say, is that they sleep better in their van than they do at home, which is kind of wild. And I don't think it's the mattress. The mattress is perfectly comfortable, but there's something about it. It's pretty universal, at least that I hear about it when that's the case. So I don't know. I certainly sleep great in my van. I love it. So we got an 8-inch thick mattress. Our headboard and footboards have a nice little bit of padding on them, so that's really nice. It's just a nice kind of soft touch thing for you when you're sleeping. Of course, these lights are on dimmers right over here, so Usually at night I'll turn off these overhead lights and I'll just have the bed lights on a real low setting, and that's super nice, and then turn it off when I go to sleep. It makes a really nice vibe in the van for sure. Right above me we have our 9500 BTU AC unit. It's a Hofton unit. It's fantastic. I love this unit. People also sometimes request the Dometic 12 volt unit. We're happy to install that too. I personally think, you know, this has a lot more output than that unit, so it gets the van cold faster, but to each their own. We have a max fan, of course, over the bed as well. That's like the standard. Every van that's ever been made has one of those in it. That's the Max Fan Deluxe, of course, so it has a remote control, so you don't have to climb up under the bed to adjust it. You just set it, which is really great. Of course, our overheads come all the way back here. These are fantastic for your clothes and all kinds of things. Really nice storage over there. Put in a couple bed lights for these guys, so they just tap them on the end, turn on this nice dim light. It's like perfect for reading. And they have each of them have a little USB plug in the bottom, which is super handy if you want to plug in your phone as well. I do want to talk about one more thing about the Webasto. So the Webasto control is right here, but the heater unit is actually right down to my right. It's under the bench right over here. And the hot air comes out on this side, and the cold air is drawn in on the garage side down there. And most people install their Webasto up under the passenger seat in the seat base. It's very commonplace for people to put it. And typically they put a smaller unit than the one we put in. So most people, the typical installation is a 2000 BTU unit under the seat over there. For our installation, we always use a 4000 BTU unit, and it goes under this seat here. And the reason for the higher power unit is that the smaller unit, it's like in really, really cold temperatures, it usually can't quite do it. In my experience, we put one of those in the first van that we built that I lived in for like 6 months. You know, really, really cold temperatures, you know, it wouldn't quite get the van there. And in those situations, the fan was also, like the unit itself was at max output. So the fan was at absolute max RPMs, and it was loud, like really loud, and kind of really annoying. So this 4000 BTU unit that we use, the Webasto, what's great about this is it's always operating, and it's like kind of in its mid zone. And so it's not silent, but it's a lot quieter than that smaller unit. But the more important thing is the placement. So when the heater is mounted over there, you can imagine it's just kind of blowing hot air this way, right? And that air is going to slow down, and like it's never really going to reach the back doors unless you have additional fans in here that are kind of blowing the air around. And so with that type of installation, you end up with a big heat gradient from the front of the van to the back of the van. So, you know, it's going to be warmer over here, then it's going to be over here, and it's going to be coldest if you're sleeping on that side of the bed. And that primarily is why a lot of people in van life talk about, you know, how cold their back door is. It's not so much because their back door is cold, it is, but it's because they don't have any warm air reaching the back of their van. And what's more is you don't have any cold air that's also reaching your garage as well. And so if you have a pass-through here with a door or whatever, there's no warm air getting to your garage. And your garage will be, in like my testing in the very first van that I built, it was about 25 degrees colder, sometimes even 30 degrees colder in the garage, right below, than it would be right above. Which is a huge difference. And that is the reason that mold is prone to developing under mattresses in vans. It's because the heater is installed in the wrong place, and you have warm, moist air up here. The moisture goes through your mattress, and then it hits the cold bed platform and condenses. And then you have cold, damp area, and you get mold. If you heat your garage, you'll never get mold under your mattress. It just can't happen. And so the best way, in my opinion, to do that is you mount the heater in the kind of midship location. You blow the heat out this way, and then you suck the intake air in from the garage, so that now that warm air that's over here is going to get sucked over the bed, down by the back doors, and then through the garage, and then back into the unit. And it's just going to cycle in this sort of convective mixing that'll happen. And that works fantastically well. It means that you have the same temperature for the person who's sleeping here as the same temperature as the person who's sleeping there. In my experience, you don't even feel the coldness of the doors. I sleep next to the doors all the time when it's like, you know, 0 degrees out. It really fixes the whole thing, and it's a big deal. So keep that in mind. It works really, really well. It's more comfortable, but then, with the mold issue, it's also, becomes sort of a health issue that you need to be aware of. So if you do have a van where it's mounted up there, trying to get a fan or something to push air through into your garage so that you kind of force heat into the garage is probably a good idea. Speaking of the garage, let's go check it out. Okay, and here we are back at the garage, and as with all our vans, it has a really big garage. We try and maximize the space there as much as possible, get our utility cabs kind of as thin as possible, and really try and get as much volume here as we can. In the center here, you can see is the center cabinet that I was talking about earlier that has all those enormous drawers that face forward. That is optional, so some people will choose to do this without that, and instead just have a pass-through, which would give you more garage storage. Which is great, and also then easy access in and out. These will take 2 bikes on either side pretty nicely, unless you have some like really huge exceptional bike, but they fit real well. And in fact, that was sort of when I originally designed this van, one of my main design goals was to be able to get 2 mountain bikes in here, and so they fit really nicely. It's a nice big garage. I think it's it's about 55 inches or something like that, maybe 60 inches this way to the door, to the back. People typically fill this whole area up with all kinds of stuff, and usually in their first trips, it's absolutely packed, and by their second or third trip, they've chucked about half the stuff that's back here because they realize they don't need it all. Over on this side here, we've got our plumbing cab. So in our plumbing cab, we've got a 30-gallon fresh tank and a 4-gallon hot water heater. That's going to feed the inside shower, and then also the outside shower. So there's a little outside shower right here. Click that on. Got a shower mixer here as well for that, and that works great. This is your water fill. Super easy. You just click the hose on there, fill it up till water starts splashing out under the van, and you're done. So nice and simple. It's one switch to winterize the whole water system. We have a bunch of valves that open up in different places, so everything just drains out by gravity, which is awesome. Nice and simple, nice and quick too. Over on this side, we have our electrical system. So we use almost entirely Victron components for the entire cabinet. The reason we use Victron is because they are just the best. They are basically the gold standard for the marine industry. That's kind of where they cut their teeth. And in a marine application, if one of your systems goes down, that could become a life-threatening situation. So their stuff is just renowned for being fantastic. And that's why we use it. If we built this cabinet with like Ready components or a different Chinese manufacturer, we could probably do it for about 1/3 of the price. But well, I'm glad we use. I'll just say I'm glad we use Victron components. Those other components can be fine. I don't know. I'd rather not get the phone call down the road that something's broken. So that's all been fantastic. We have a 3,000 watt multi-plus inverter in here. That 3,000 watts is going to power everything in the van without a problem, with room to spare. So it's really, really great. That also handles the charging for it as well. This van is interesting. It actually has 4 different ways to charge. Normally there's only 3. This one's got 4. The first is driving down the street. You're going to charge off your alternator, obviously. We've got 350 watts of solar on the roof, so anytime you're in the sun, that's just going to be charging your batteries. Totally great. And then, of course, on the side of the van here, we have a shore charging plug. So if you're near a house or anywhere where there's just a standard household outlet, you can plug in, charge your van up. Totally great. The 4th way is actually an EV charging plug that's on the outside of this van. So you can park this van at an EV charging station somewhere, and plug that plug into the van, and you'll be able to charge your household batteries from the EV station. It works fantastically. Something that I don't think anybody else has done, actually. We made a video about it, I don't know, half a year ago or something like that. We haven't installed too many of them, but it's pretty great. And most EV charging stations are kind of empty at night, so it's a perfect opportunity if you're traveling, spend the night parked at an EV charging station, plug in, get all topped up. When you wake up in the morning, when people start showing up to charge their vehicles, you just leave and you got a full charge, which is pretty great. Because if you're driving around and traveling and you do need to plug in for whatever reason, if you're using your air conditioning a lot, let's say, it's not always easy to find an outlet to plug into that you're allowed to plug into. So this is kind of a great solution, and so I'm excited for them. Otherwise, we've got the rest of our components in here, our DC fuses, our AC breakers, and everything in there. For the most part, she's never going to need to go in there unless there's some issue, but there shouldn't be. Over here, we've got another 110 outlet. We've got a 12-volt socket over here and some USB. The 12-volt socket's really great. I love having that in the garage because I've got a bunch of inflatables, kayak, stand-up paddleboard, and some other things. And it's just great having that there. I can run my 12-volt pump to pump that stuff up real fast. Yeah, super handy. And then this over here, this is a main cutoff switch. So if you know, you want to just shut everything off your van and not really have to think about it, you can flip that switch and kill the whole thing. So that's really good. Let's head around the front and we'll wrap this up. Something I forgot to mention earlier on is the front seating. The passenger seat is on a swivel. We can also put the driver's seat on a swivel. We can also add lagoon tables and stuff like that up front to add you know, additional options there. Additional lagoon tables, nice, especially if you have like a couple people who are traveling together and they're both working. You can kind of spread out a little bit more, so that's really nice. But she's just got the single passenger seat swivel, which is totally great. Something else that she's doing, so her use case is she's gonna be traveling a lot in the sort of Arizona area out west. I think she has some property out there, but she's gonna be spending a lot of time traveling in the van and then also working as well, working on site at various different sites, and then I think traveling and working remotely. And she opted for the most powerful internet setup that we offer, which is really impressive. So it's a 5G cell phone based antenna and router that also has Starlink in motion hooked up to it. So she's got a satellite dish and the 5G antenna on the roof. It is a super powerful setup. I'm not going to go into the details of it now, but you can check out, I made an internet video where I go through all the internet options. I'll see if we can link that up here somewhere, and you can check that out. But basically that means like there are very few places on the planet that she could take this van and not have internet, which is kind of wild. So anyway, to wrap this up, I just want to say I absolutely love this layout, like kind of personally. And it's the very first van design I ever did back in I guess it was 2019 when I started it. And spent, you know, so long trying to figure out exactly, you know, what I was going to build. And what's so incredible is, you know, aside from like a lot of little changes, and there have been a lot of little changes, especially in the systems and in other, you know, sort of functional things. Aside from all those sort of changes, the core design itself is basically exactly the same since van number one. And I don't know, I kind of love that. I'm just personally proud of it. I love it, and I'm just glad we built another one. So anyway, I hope you're having a great day. I hope this was interesting and helpful and informative, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.